of this show is to actually give back to the community of online entrepreneurs. So you will get a small win or take away from the value bombs that we will be sharing with you once a week. So this space is also for me, to practice going live and show up in social media. So bear with me. I believe in facing my fear to finally overcome my blocker of moving forward with my business. So this is Ritzel Rectra, the owner and CEO of Mighty Shell Virtual Solutions. I am a social media specialist focused on content creation, social media management, and back-end support. I actually help service-based professionals, small business owners, and entrepreneurs with graphics design, content creation, social media management to increase credibility and brand awareness. I also help coaches and course creators on setting up and maintaining their membership or course area. So outside my business, I am a systems consultant for legacy systems and been in the IT industry for almost 23 years. I'm saying this right now. So my years of experience gave me the ability to choose the right software tools that have been built up in my workflow that are affordable and fitted to the budget of what my business is now. Okay. This allowed me to be an affiliate of these tools and softwares that I am using in my business, which I also share with you and the benefits and how it's being used. So the list is found in my membership area. So make sure to watch. So make sure to join and check it out. All right, moving on. When you leave a comment, please mention your name. So it's quite funny as StreamYard sometimes only shows FB user when someone comments. So make sure to mention your name. All right. If you are watching us live, comment live as well, hashtag live. Or if you are catching us on replay, comment hashtag replay. And please type in your comments if you have one. So in this episode of Talking Business with Ritz, our topic is for us, business owners, who wants to use leverage to grow our business. So my guest right now is a business strategist. He is an author and a business coach specializing in increasing profits and streamlining businesses. How interesting. I'm going to like this. All right. He had amassed a wealth of knowledge and experience over 26 years of starting, running, and selling multiple businesses in addition to marketing digital products online. So he teach people how to use leverage authority and borrowed ethos to increase reach, maximize sales, and minimize the time spent trying to find their clients. Okay, now we have the same goal, which is to give back to the world the opportunities and blessings that I have received or we have received over the years. Okay, he will be discussing the concepts of building authority, increasing reach, and building trust. So these topics will eventually give us an idea about the power of leverage in business. So I'm quoting these questions directly from my guest website, the Money Maximizer. Okay, so I want you to ask yourself these questions. Do I want to stay stuck in the same merry-go-round of luck and unprofitability? Profitability? Bleh. Do I really want to continue grinding my life away under the delusion that I am making it better? If your answer is a resounding no, then let's talk business. Stay and listen until the end of the show and make sure to ask your questions, even if you are watching this on replay. All right. Without much ado, he is our special guest, Sir Chad Nedland. Let me put him on stage. Hi, Sir Chad.
Hey, welcome. How are you?
Right. I'm so excited and nervous.
Well, you shouldn't be nervous. It's your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. That's why I'm nervous. I'm at
What a gift. This is what I love, is
Right.
when people take their birthday to give to other people.
Yes.
I have a
This is
habit
my
of giving
gift
gifts
to
on my
everyone.
birthday. So this is really cool. Yeah, it's an
All
honor
right.
to be here today.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Sir Chad, for agreeing to have this live expert interview with me in talking business prompter.
I am located in northern Wisconsin, USA.
Wow.
So if we take a quick jog north, I'll be Canadian.
Really?
Yeah, we're right up at the top. So we have some really fun weather. We get really hot and muggy during the day, and then gets really cool at night. So just loving it here in the U.S., loving the country lifestyle. We have a yard. Try that again. A large yard for my kids to play in and for me to mow.
Is it kind of laid back, like, you know?
Yeah.
Let me help you to imagine.
It's a really relaxed region of the U.S. When the rest of the world goes, we go, like it's going to take a while to get to us. We're out in the middle of the woods, you know.
Wow,
so
that's good.
Everybody was doing the social distancing, and I'm like, man, we'd have to drive 45 minutes to get 6 feet to somebody.
Yeah, that's good. Currently, I am here inside the house, inside a condo unit, in the middle of Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. So very hot. Anyway, for those who don't know, Sir Chad, he was a soldier in the U.S. Army. When was this?
I went in back in 1994.
1991?
1994.
1994. Wow.
Yeah.
That long.
Yeah, I'm a youngin.
Okay. Okay, we have a live audience right now. Hi, Jeff. Let me put him on the show. Hi. All right. Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you. Yeah, he said happy birthday. All right. All right. Watch with us until the end. All right. So wow. And you're also a gymnast and a boxer.
Yes. My gymnastics isn't quite as smooth as it used to be when I was a kid, but I'm still a pretty good boxer.
I can see that. Well, that's a very disciplined and active life you have there. Could you tell us more about your origin story? How did you evolve from being someone who came from a not so wealthy life or privileged life, who had found himself, living without a home multiple times, to becoming an author, business coach, or a business strategist?
There's the long origin story and there's the short one. And I'm going to tell everybody the short one first because it's the most important.
Yeah.
I made a decision that that's what I was going to become. Because everything that you do in life is going to be based on a decision. A decision, the word decision actually comes back from the Latin root of decia, which means to cut off or sever. So when we decide something, everything else has to go away. There's no other option. There is no plan B.
Yes.
So when I got out of the military, I had gone through, how do we say it politely? A very difficult divorce. And my world turned upside down because when I went into the military, I was willing to lay my life down to protect my family, literally. And I put my money where my mouth was. I joined up and everything that I had was wrapped up in this family. And because of the military, I was rejected from it. And my whole world turned upside down. I lost my path, my direction, everything that I was going to do. I ended up going for a walk one day. I told my brother, he goes, "What you doing tomorrow?" I says, "I don't know, walk to California." And the next morning I got up and I grabbed an old school bag. I put in a couple pair of underwear, pair of shorts, 2 t-shirts, grabbed $12.73 off the top of my dresser and began my walk to California.
That reminds me of Jack Reacher.
Yeah. You're right. It's like, don't you have any other clothes? I was like, I washed this one. This is my shirt. But yeah, I ended up walking from Minnesota all the way to California. And when I went to California, there's a couple things that shifted in me during that walk. One of which was I realized that my future didn't matter. The only thing that really mattered was what was I doing right now.
Oh,
It didn't matter how far California was if I didn't take that next step. It didn't matter, what I was going to eat next week if I didn't find something to eat today.
correct.
And I started to look at things and I said, wow, I've been having this huge big picture where I was neglecting all of the things that were right here and right now. And I started to realize that a lot of the things that were in my life that weren't positive and good and pleasurable wasn't necessarily that I made them happen, but I didn't work to make something else happen because I wasn't focused on the present. Well, I got out to California. I ended up working with the homeless, and not like working side by side, but working with them to actually show them that there is a better way, that you can get out of the streets if you want.
Yeah.
Because most didn't end up there because they didn't have a choice. Most landed there because they didn't have a choice, but they're there because they lost hope. So I says, I can give them hope because, the one thing I knew is I can do anything I want.
Yeah.
At this point, I literally said I could do anything I want because I could go anywhere I wanted. I just picked up and walked away.
Yes.
And I started to see the resiliency of community within these homeless camps. They had their own form of credit, and it was called respect. And if you didn't have respect when you walked in, you had nothing. They'll give you a little bit at the beginning, and if you manage it well, it would grow massively, and you'd have an amazing amount of leverage in the community. And I realized, well, that's a lot like our credit system with credit cards. They'll give you a little bit, and if you manage it well, it will grow, and then you can leverage that in greater ways. Well, it ended up, I started going all across the country, and I started to live a life without limits. And when I started to realize that there weren't any limits, if I wanted to go to Norfolk, Virginia on the other side of the country, I just went. I didn't even think about like, oh, how am I going to get there? I'd be like, oh, I think I'll go to California. Boom, I go to California. Oh, I want to go to Florida. Boom, I went to Florida. It was just, I started to realize that the decisions that we made are what control the outcome. A lot of people say it's our actions, but it's not, because our actions are after the decision.
A decision, yes.
So if we become more definitive about the decisions that we made, we'd be able to move forward. Well, the one thing I've always been really good with is two things: logistics and numbers. I can take a pile of garbage that everybody else says, I just don't know what to do with this. And I could go and then put something together amazing. And I started to apply this into business opportunities. And I started to work online a little bit. And then I started to sell digital format online. And then I started to help people with their business plans for offline businesses. And over the years, I just continued to develop these skills. I started with a $7 report and scaled that up to $6,000 a month.
Wow.
On a $7 report about how to sell tomatoes or grow.
How long did that take from $7 to 1,000?
It took a little bit over 9 weeks.
9 weeks.
9 weeks.
Wow.
Because what I learned to do is if you know numbers, if you can analyze the numbers, you can do a lot, because numbers are the language of business.
Quite true.
So if you understand your numbers in business, you know exactly what your return on investment will be for every dollar you spend. And if you know consistently that you get a 30% return, well, you take in the exponential aspect in life, and we say, well, if I get 30% back from 100, I'm going to have 130. So I'm going to put 130 in. And when you put 130 in, and you end up with what? You end up with 139 the next time.
Yeah.
Right? Because you get that additional 30. Most people would say, okay, then you reinvest 139. I had a simple process. I would find something that would get me at least a 35% return. And then I would do it again to convince myself that it was consistent. And then I would run out and beg, borrow from everybody I knew and dump $2,000 into it.
Okay.
Well, why not? Because I'd promised them a 10% return within a week. It's like, you give me $100, I'll give you 110 on Friday. And they're like, yeah, sure, cool, no problem, dude. Well, you do that once or twice, and all of a sudden your friends will give you more money because they're making good money. It's better than anything they're doing. And I realized you don't have to borrow money. You give people opportunities to invest with you. And that's one way that you can leverage your cost. And back in the day when Google was simple, I knew that if I could spend 29 cents on an ad, that 29 cents could end up getting me a $7 sale. Because I was getting my ad in front of people for 3 and 4 cents.
Yeah.
So as long as I knew my conversion rates. Well, I learned that knowing my numbers is vital in my business. And if I know my numbers, I know what I can spend, I know what I can't spend. And then I says, wow, this is amazing. And then I learned there's a better way. We can do more than just leverage money, numbers. We can leverage assets that other people have as well. And when I started to do that and I started to really dive in deep on how to make that happen, that's when my businesses blew up. A lot of people, I went in and I started a lawn care company for a friend of mine back in the day. And he's like, well, how do I reach out to all these people? I'm like, I don't know. Why don't you just go talk to the real estate agents and see who just bought a house this month? He goes, what?
Right.
I says, they already have a list of people who are going to be looking for services. And he says, well, who does that? I'm like, you, if you're smart. And he went out and he filled up his entire business and his entire schedule and had to hire on 2 more people within 3 months. Why? Because he went and he partnered with all the real estate agents in his region over in the cities, and they just gave him regular new leads. Why? Because he told them, every lead that you send me, I'll give you $50.
Okay, so this is the power of leveraging in business.
Yeah.
Nice segue.
So exactly. So I started to understand that concept that there are so many different ways that we can gain authority with an audience. We can leverage things in business. Like in there, they didn't know him as a lawn guy, but they just spent, a couple $100,000 with the real estate agent. They trust the real estate agent, and the real estate agent said, hey, use this guy. So without any trust, he walked in and these people trusted him to do the work without any reference, any marketing. Nothing was done. They didn't know him from anything. They took it sheerly on the recommendation of the person that they spoke with about the real estate.
Yeah.
So they started to apply this in business.
So the owner of the house trusted the recommendation of the real estate agent, right?
And we know the recommendation was going to be trustworthy because they already gave a ton of money to the real estate agent.
Yeah, true.
And we all know our trust always follows where our money goes.
Yeah.
If we don't trust them to give us what we want, we don't give them our money.
Okay, so that's you're talking about the third topic that we are in now, which is building trust. You want to give a little bit more example aside from the real estate agent?
Oh yeah, I'm just kind of like this is like that origin story that you asked. We'll get into the actual how to do those things in a second.
Oh, all right. I thought you would jump already.
No, we're just the origin. It's kind of like the process.
Okay.
Here.
All right.
I started to understand how all that stuff worked, and I says, this is so powerful. Why am I not sharing this with more people? Because anything of any value only has value when you give it away. You can have a dollar bill, and you know how much value it has? Nothing. Nothing. I could give you $100 bill USD. You know what value is? Nothing. I could give you a gold bar. Do you know how much value it has when you have a gold bar? Nothing. Nothing
until you use it.
You have to exchange it for something for value to be received.
Correct.
So in order for there to be value, there has to be an exchange. Otherwise, it's perceived value. I believe that someone will give me X amount for this, but until it's done, there's no value exchange. Right. So that's when I learned about the value exchange, and I learned that the whole way that I was going to do business from now forward was it was all going to be about value exchange, and I will always give value with no expectation of when or from where the value will be returned. Because that's where the power lies. We can say, oh, I'm going to come on and I'm going to do something for you, Ritzel, and then you're going to do something for me. It doesn't work that way. That's an expectation, which means I'm not there to give, I'm there to receive.
Yeah.
But if I come here and I say, I want to come in here and I want to pour into your community and serve them and give them valuable information that's going to help them move forward, and then I walk away with no expectation of receiving anything from anyone here in return, most likely by the end of next week, somebody from left field will come walking into my life and say, I really want to work with you as a coach. And it will have nothing to do with this call at all. Because when we sow into the world, we're going to reap. But the world has this law of exponential increase in all we do. Yeah. When you plant an apple seed, what do you get?
A lot of apples.
No,
Oh, not yet.
you
Okay.
get a tree,
Yes, you get a tree
and
and
the
they will
tree has
flower.
apples,
Yes.
and the apples have seeds. So we get a multiplied return of what we plant,
Mm.
but a lot of things come in between that process before you ever get the same thing you return, and each one more beneficial. So when I started to look into life, and I looked at nature, I looked in businesses, I looked in relationships, and I started studying deep into the psychology of people, and I started to realize that whatever we plant, there's usually 2 to 3 things that must happen before you receive back what you gave. And what happens in between is something that continues to produce what you planted once. So there's that law of reoccurrence. Like we plant an apple seed, we get a tree, which produces year after year after year after year, the fruit of that tree. And it will continue to yield the fruit of that tree until we either cut it down or uproot it. So be careful what we sow into business.
Correct.
Because it will come back and continue to feed into your life for years to come. So feed value, feed giving of service, being a servant to the people that you're in front of, and you'll realize that that will continue to come back, and people will plant seeds in your life that will continue to bear fruit and help you to sustain yourself and everyone that you care about for years and years to come.
Yes, that's very interesting.
And that's what brought me to today, I guess. I just got into marketing. I love marketing. I love people. I love serving and helping, watching people grow and advance. And 2 years ago, right when the pandemic hit, I told my wife I had some offline businesses that I was running. And I says, I'm going to be an online coach, and I'm going to show people how to make money online because it's not hard. I mean, sorry, guys, earning money online is the easiest thing in the world if you stick to what works instead of what you're being sold. Just go back to what's been working, because people don't change. Generation to generation to generation, the mindset and psychology of people don't change. Culture changes, but the way the mind operates really doesn't. So if you understand the psychology of service and what people are needing, what they're not needing, what they move towards versus what they move away from, you'll find there's some really cool sales things in there that will help you to grow your business. Like, one simple thing. People will gladly pay a stranger to move them out of pain, but they will seldom pay a stranger to bring them towards pleasure. Okay. So when we look at it in business, if you're talking to a cold audience, your marketing should probably be focused around how to remove the pain in their life. But if you have a warm audience that knows you and trusts you already, you're going to do better by creating your messaging to them about how you can move them towards their goals and their pleasure, because they trust you. So where you're at in the conversation should always be adjusted by the message that you give.
Right. There is no one message fits everyone.
No, because they're all at a different journey, a different portion of that relationship with you, and therefore you have to talk to them differently. I don't know if you're married. I'm married. Okay.
I'm married.
Okay, you're married. All right, cool.
Yes.
So we're safe.
Yeah, we are.
Like, you talk to your husband different now than you did when you first met him, right?
Yeah, of course.
Why?
Because I'm more comfortable now than before.
Yeah. And you'll share more with him now than you did when you first met him, right?
Yes.
And you're more intimate with him now than you were when you first met him. Because there aren't those barriers, and therefore it's okay to share what's on the inside.
Yes, I can say what I mean and mean what I say.
Yeah, and sometimes I even say it mean. I try not to. But that's the way it is also with our audiences.
Yeah.
Is we have to realize that everybody in our audience has a different relationship with us. So we have to realize that first we need to connect with our audience, and then build a relationship and pay attention to where you are in that relationship with each person in your audience.
Yeah, I'm learning that quite hard.
The hard way. Well, the hard way usually brings the
The hard
strongest
way.
lesson. It usually brings the
Yeah,
strongest lesson.
true.
So yeah, that's kind of what brought me to where I am today. And now my whole
Mhm.
heart is just that of just serve and give. I'm glad I accidentally make sales because I would just show up and serve all day long if I had my way. But my wife apparently wants us to pay the bills.
Of course.
So,
Of
but
course.
I've got two lovely children and a 1-year-old at the house, so we gotta keep them happy and fed in diapers.
Yes. Well, that's
Um,
very interesting. Yeah.
but
All
yeah,
right.
the meat and taters, right?
Yeah. Let's talk business. All right. Okay. We've touched base about the power of leverage in in business. So
Mhm.
in layman's term, like we're talking to a 5-year-old. What does it really mean? And feed it to the budget of what? What's that?
Sounded like an echo.
Yeah, I think so. Okay. So talking to a 5-year-old, can you explain what does the power of leverage mean?
Okay. The power of leverage to a 5-year-old would be easy because a
Mm,
5-year-old is always trying to get into things.
Yep.
They're always trying to get into the bucket, into a door, under this, into the toy box. And when they can't do it with their fingers, they
Mhm.
usually try and find something to pry it open. They try and dig it out with a stick. Even a
Yeah.
5-year-old understands leverage. It's being able to use a tool to get a result that they can't get without the tool. Now,
Nicely
oftentimes,
done.
as an adult, we think leverage like a fulcrum, right? Like something where we stick it in there and we put it on a pivot point and, we lever something out. We
Yeah.
apply a little bit of force on this end. And because of the pivot point, there's a
Yep.
massive amount of force delivered on that end.
Yep.
Well, that's not the only way to think about leverage in business.
Mhm.
Leverage is also a brick and a window. Most people couldn't punch through a window, but they could swing a brick and go right through the window and not even have to work hard. So leverage could also be partnering up with someone in business who's already going in the direction you're trying to get.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So my nephews used to do this to me. Here in Wisconsin, we get a lot of snow in the winter. And when it come time to climb up the hill, because we'd hop on the sled and we go whoo down the bottom of the hill, and then we'd have to take our sled and climb back up.
Yes.
Without my nephews, walking up a hill was easy. With my nephews, it was really hard because every one of them wanted to hang on to my coat while I walked up the hill so that they could get that help going where they're going. They
Right.
were leveraging the strength of their uncle to get to the top.
Right.
So when we think of leverage, say, I'm going to access or utilize a tool that will help me accomplish what I can't. And sometimes it's nothing more than just hanging on with somebody who's already going where I'm trying to get.
Okay.
So to partner with somebody who's already gained momentum is an act of using leverage to move forward. A simple thing that people use as leverage would be using an OPL method, using other people's list. Everybody
OPL. Other
OPL,
people's list.
yeah.
Okay.
Everybody who has a little bit of common sense online is growing an email list. Most people are not using the list they have. I don't
wonder
know
why.
why. I don't know why. But it takes it's like bashing your head against a wall to get people to understand the first and foremost thing you should be doing is actually growing a client list, an email list,
Yep.
so that you can maintain connection with them. I laughed so hard when Google and Facebook, or not Google, but Facebook and Instagram shut down for what was it, like 4 hours?
Oh
Whenever you
yeah,
were here. And the rest of the world was like, oh my gosh, what are we gonna do? I got phone calls like, dude, what are we gonna do? They're all shut down. I can't get my account. I'm like, I don't know, go for a walk. Like me, I went to my office, I sent out 2 emails, I went for a walk, I made thousands that day. Why? Because I just mailed my list. I didn't lose access to them. So it's hard to get people to actually understand the power of having a list, because they'll put like, 45, 50 people on there, do a mailing and go, oh, well, nobody bought anything. That was dumb. Well, it takes time to build a relationship with your audience.
Yeah.
And then those that do have a list, most of them aren't using it. So
Maybe
many
they don't know what to do with it,
Yeah. They're just, well, they said grow a list, but I'm not making any money. I was like, well, how often do you mail? They're like, what do you mean? I mean, how often do you mail them? Like, what do you mail them? Are you just sending them offers all day long? No wonder you're not making any money. They're not going to open it because you're just selling to them all the time. But if you actually build a relationship and share a little bit about your lifestyle when something happens, and, if your wife gets pregnant, let everybody know. If you twist your ankle, hey, send them a message and let them know, and then tie it into business. Like if I woke up this morning and my wife says, hey, are you ready for your 1-year-old daughter to have a playmate? And you're like, oh, yeah. And I'm thinking, Joy up the street must have gotten pregnant. Nope, it was my wife.
I thought so.
She was like, play date. And I'm like, in play date, neighbors, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
No. And then you go, okay, so how could we talk that in? It's like, I totally thought it was something else, but I realized my life was about to drastically change. And then I think about it, and it's a lot like my business. When I think everything is just going to start running smooth and I've got it all figured out, all of a sudden this little stem in my business pops up and says, hey, we got to address this part and start over again. Oh, and not lose momentum with the rest of it. And we all face these things in business. And then you tie that thing in your personal life to your business. And then people can understand that, A, they connect with you on the personal level, but they understand that life and business are interconnected. Now you're beginning to connect with them on things that they understand. Because most people say, oh, I can't focus on my online business because this in my life. They have them separated. But when you start to tie them together and show them that they're interconnected and they both need each other, now you're helping them be able to move forward with a greater, stronger understanding and confidence in their business. Now these people are going to start opening your emails. So email is really leveraging your time and your efforts. If we make a post on Facebook, we know that Facebook algorithm breaks down your entire friends list into 10 pods.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to show it to 10% of your list. And based on the response rate, if the engagement is good and the response is good, they'll show it to the second group of 10%.
Yeah.
So if you don't get hit right on that first 10%, and hit good, nobody else even sees your content.
Too bad.
It's terrible, right? Now, on the other hand, I can take that same piece of content and I can drop it into an email and I can send it out to my list. And I'm going to get about 45 to 47% open rates. Because my list loves me.
Yeah.
And I can go onto my list and I can say, okay, who hasn't opened something from me in the last 2 weeks? And nobody comes up. That means every single person on my list has opened at least one of my emails in the last 2 weeks. That's a nice active list. That also means that when I post it, 50% of the entire people on my list are going to see it versus 10% of the people on my Facebook might see it.
Yeah.
So what's more powerful? A better leveraged use of my time is my list. True. And then my Facebook should be doing nothing more than using that to get people to my list.
Yeah.
And that's the leveraging aspect. Now, how do you make sure they see your stuff on Facebook? Here's a sneaky one. Like the other day, hey, I just put together a short little video on Facebook covering why the rich are not the ones responsible for the oppression that you feel. You can check it out here. Boom. Now you take your list and you send them all over to Facebook. We know what happens? A ton of people from my list go over to Facebook. They see my post and then Facebook goes, oh, wow, this post is blowing up. And it shows it to everybody for you. Use
Nice
your
trick.
list. Use your list. Leverage
Oh,
your list.
I learned
Get
something today.
traction. So Facebook will push it out to more people. You're leveraging the algorithm for your favor instead of fighting with the algorithm to get a result.
Nice. I'm using Messenger to do that. Now you say I use my. All right, good.
Yeah. When you use Messenger, you can write one email and hit send. Right. And the cool thing is, it shows up in front of them. Most people have a notification. It pops up and says, hey, there's an email here.
Yeah.
It's just you're always in front of it. And the more connection points that you have, the more times you can touch them, the better your results are going to be. One of my coaches used to say, hey, it's just like fighting in the UFC. He says, if you can touch them once, you can touch them again. Because all you got to do is figure out where's their weak spot, touch them again. And when you do that in business, you're like, what is the way that's going to connect with my audience in the most effective way? And then just do it over and over and over and over again. Now, here's where some real massive power comes in. And this is what you do well on one side of the coin. Okay. As a host,
I'm listening.
You now have access to my entire list. Do you think I'm not sharing what I'm doing with my list?
I'm not sure.
Of course. Anybody with half of a brain, if they're invited to be a guest on someone's show, we're going to let people know that. Why? Because it makes us look good, right? Makes us desired in the marketplace, makes us sought after in the marketplace. So what other people will say is, hey, if other people want to listen to him, I should probably listen too. So it's actually in the best interest of my audience for me to give them the social proof that people are inviting me into their space. Because it reaffirms to my audience that what I have is still relevant and beneficial to the world. So that being said, when I'm on a guest, I'm also mailing out to my entire list to let them know, hey, this is where I'm at. This is what's going on. So you have that opportunity to be positioned. Step 2, this ties in with the authority and credibility. You now are positioned, like, I don't know what side you're on. You're right there to me. People see you and I sitting right next to each other.
Yeah.
Which means you and I are on the same level playing field. Okay.
All right.
But what would people believe about you if, say, Tony Robbins was sitting where I'm sitting?
Wow, I would gladly interview Tony Robbins.
Okay, but what would people think? See, do you see how you said that, though? I'd gladly interview him, but my question was, how would people perceive you?
Oh.
If you had access to Tony Robbins?
Well, people would probably think that I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
it gives you that authority and credibility of saying, wow, this is somebody who has access to the high-level players. So the opportunity to get those people in your room puts you on the same level as them. Now, for me, and this is going to sound kind of funny saying it because a lot of this stuff is what's unsaid that meets. So, although it's going to sound funny, people watching will understand this. And they'll go, oh, wait, yeah. Everything that your audience believes about you, about who you are, what you stand for, your integrity, your honesty, the way that you love to serve, they automatically believe that about me just because you invited me to be here. And
I believe we have the same value. That's why I invited you here.
Exactly. And the audience knows that because they trust you. So they're going to believe the same thing about me that they believe about you because they know you wouldn't have me here if you didn't think that was true.
Yeah. I stalk my guests, people.
Right. So that's what's called borrowed ethos. Ethos is a belief of a person or a group of individuals about someone else. So there is an ethos, there is a belief about you, Ritzel, that your audience as a whole holds towards you. And when I come in on your stage, they automatically transfer that ethos to me because you brought me in. But here's the magic, and this is what I want you to start doing too. As the guest, they believe everything about me that they believe about you +1.
Wow. Yeah.
Do you know why? Because I have to be at a slightly higher level in some area than you, or you wouldn't need to bring me in.
Yes, that's true.
So they say not only is this guy on the same level with Ritzel, but he's bringing something that she thinks he needs to be able to share with us. So as the guest, you get that borrowed ethos, which is a leveraged authority, a leveraged positioning in the marketplace to a completely cold audience. How many people spend years doing interviews with tons and tons of people to try and grow rapport with their own list? Ritzel.
I don't know.
Right? I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. But you spent all of this time nurturing your audience and your list till you can build up that brand and that trust and that authority, that reputability with your audience, correct?
Yeah.
And I walked in.
I hope so. I'm doing the right thing. I just started in April.
Okay. Good. Yeah. So yeah, you're on the right track right there. It's like you're moving in the right direction. Now, in that same regard, I just walked in, and within the first 5 minutes of the introduction of what's coming in, you transferred everything that you built up and you transferred it to me. And all I did was show up, and you automatically transcribed everything that your audience believed about you to me, which means I just shortcutted your entire rapport building with your audience. And I had it in 5 minutes, and I hadn't even said a word yet.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So that's also the use that you can do, not only as a host, you need to also be a guest. Because when people bring you on theirs, they now transfer their ethos to you. And you're introduced to their entire audience, which will come back and become part of your audience as well if you present well. So that's the beauty of the power of borrowed ethos. And that helps to give us credibility, trust, authenticity is really key in that process. Because when I get off this call, if somebody reaches out and talks to me or comes over to my page or my profile, they better see the exact same person they saw during the interview with Ritzel.
Yeah.
Because if they don't, all of that borrowed ethos is stripped away.
True.
It's gone. So the authenticity of who you are, make sure that you just show up fully as who you are each and every time you show up, whether you're hosting or guesting. Just be you, and you'll find that compounding effect of borrowed authority from 20 or 30 different people in your field, all transcribed to you. Now everybody starts talking about you in the background. Now you go from generalist to specialist to authority, and then you start gaining what's called celebrity authority status. That's where not only they're like, oh, who's the best at this thing? And they go, oh, that's Ritzel. That's authority. Well, if you want to do this,
owning it.
Go to Daniel, but if you want to do it really, really well, go to Ritzel.
Right.
Well, then there's that celebrity status where nobody's asking who the authority is. Everybody's just talking about you. Oh, did you see what Ritzel's doing? She's got this amazing new program that everybody's been they've been jumping in, and I can't wait to get in, but I'm stuck on a waiting list.
I like that.
Right? Because everybody's talking about it because you're everywhere.
Right.
And there's a cool thing, and it's called the silent celebrity. It's where everybody knows about you. Everybody absolutely loves you, but they're afraid to talk about you because they're afraid you'll take their clients. And it's not really talked about when people talk about training. They want to stop at that celebrity status, but there's this silent celebrity. Do you know how many people out there that are making massive impact in the world that nobody knows about?
Really? Nobody knows about, so I probably
nobody knows about them, right? But I guarantee
right.
the few celebrities that we have are not the ones that are doing all the work. Those are the people that when they're like, hey, we have a problem, and everybody goes, oh, hands down, this is the person you go to.
Yeah.
They're not popular. Like me in high school, I was not the popular kid at all.
But you are a
Everybody
go-to
in the
person, is
school,
it?
but
But you
everybody
are
in
a
the
go-to
school knew who
person.
I was.
Ah.
I was known, but not popular. You know why I wasn't popular? Because I believed in treating people with respect, being honorable to the ladies that were in the school with me, to be polite to my teachers. My teachers loved me. The gals loved hanging around with me. I had more female friends than any man ever wanted because they were all just friends. Right? I couldn't have a girlfriend because I was too nice of a guy type thing. But that's where I believe is a real sweet spot in the marketplace because everybody knows that you're the person that can get to the results, but you're not just being talked about. When you're mentioned, they're referring people to you. They're sending you work. That's what I call the silent celebrity status. And like everybody's got to know you, but they've got to know what it is that you get them, the solution that you provide. Not that you're great at what you do, but you want them talking about the results that you get.
Yes. That's the aim. That's the
Yeah.
goal.
I don't want to be known as the guy who's, my buddy's probably watching this right now, who's got a content mastery program. I want to be the guy who's known as like, no, dude, I worked with him and my profits went through the roof.
Yeah.
He showed me how to make content that makes money. That's what I want him to talk about, not the fact that I've got this awesome program.
Yeah.
And when we start doing that, we find that we can leverage more and more things because getting in a room, there's a few different rooms that you can get in. There's a simple Facebook Live interview.
Yeah.
Super powerful. Should never take more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But it'll make you money. And here's the cool thing. An interview with anybody on your list. The average person on Facebook, I think a few years ago had 157 people on their Facebook list. Now I think it's like 300 something. But imagine if everybody on your list had 100 people that could see the interview. Take the number of your list times 100.
Wow.
Like if you've got a small list, say you've got 1,000 people, 20% of what you can have. Say you got 1,000. Add 2 zeros. That's a potential of 100,000 people that you could get in front of by simply just doing a 15-minute interview.
Wow.
What do you
do with the interview? Hi, hello, what's your name?
Okay. The goal of the aim is simply an introduction and a solution to a problem.
Oh.
Okay. So 5 basic questions, because I love your audience, so I won't make them pay to get in the course to get this. But 5 basic questions, right?
Listen, guys.
A, quick introduction. Who are you and what brought you to do what it is that you do? Not what do you do? What got you to that point and who are you? Question 2. Okay, that's great. So what exactly do you help people accomplish and what does that look like? Is there a process that you take them through? Okay. And then you teach the process. Short, but teach the process. If there's 5 pillars, talk about what those 5 pillars are. In my Money Maximizer program, there's 5 pillars, right? 1, I'm going to teach you how to position yourself and be attractive in the marketplace. I call this the goldfish effect, right? You want to be the goldfish in a piranha tank. I know it doesn't sound pleasant, but once you understand it, you'll beg to be the goldfish, right? And then I'm going to teach you what's called fishing in the right pond. Okay. I'm going to teach you how to use leveraged authority to massively increase your reach while almost decimating your outreach. A lot of affiliate marketers are pushing 600, 700, 800, 900 connections with people every single month. I try and build 3 relationships every month. That's it. Now, the difference is at the end of the month, they reach 600 to 900 people. At the end of the month, for me, I can reach between 7,000 and 12,000 off of my 3.
Wow.
So we teach you how to do that. The third thing we do is we teach you the Imaginarium experience. The Imaginarium experience is simply allowing your customers to experience having achieved the result that you provide. And we teach you how to do that so that they can fully experience the outcome before you ever work with them. And then we show you how to do what we call the idiot close. And the idiot close is nothing more than we show you how to craft an offer that is so great they would go, I would be an absolute idiot to not take this today. And then there's the fifth step. I guess I could teach you sometime later. And then you'll be like, oh, awesome. Okay. See, that's what we call an open loop.
Yes.
So you all know. If you want to know more, hang on. We'll talk about that in a minute. And then the third question that you'd go through is, well, what are some of the things that held you back from pursuing this sooner? And that's where you deal with the internal objection of the audience. You say, hey, you know, one of the things that I really struggled with a lot was the fact I didn't believe that I was quite good enough to be able to teach this. But after some time in working with some coaches, I realized it didn't have anything to do with me being enough. The question is, did I have what they needed? Because a person who's dying of thirst doesn't care if you bring them a wine glass with water in it or a rusty bucket. They just want the water.
Yes.
And I realized that that wasn't the case with me. I was so concerned about the rusty bucket, I let them die of dehydration. So I said, like, you know what? This doesn't matter to me. What matters is I have the value, and I'm going to start bringing it to them. And when they start giving me a value exchange, I'll buy a better bucket. The delivery can get better later, but they've got to get what they need now.
Yes.
And that's where it became a real pivot point for me in my business. They're like, wow, that's great. Fourth question. What do you think some of the things that are holding other people back from really taking advantage of what you teach? Well, sometimes I think there's some internal things that they go on, but oftentimes what we run into is the non-support from the spouse. Lately with the pandemic, you know, a lot of people spent a lot of money and got no return, and everybody is gun shy. They're afraid to put any money out because everything else has failed. Now, what I want to show them is, you know, it failed because nobody took you by the hand and showed you the micro adjustments that need to be made during the application of the process. Most people give you the information and say, go do. I give you the information and say, let's go do this together. And let me show you where you can be more effective. And then I take them by the hand and I work with them directly one-on-one. And what you're doing in those first two is you deal with the internal and the external objection. And then the fifth one is very simple. So if somebody wanted more information, how would they go about doing that? How would they reach out?
Yeah.
5 questions. Who are you? What's your process? And what problem does it solve? Internal objection, external objection, and what do they do next? 15 minutes, you're in and you're out. And the cool thing is it's just 15 minutes. You can go to every single person on your list and be like, hey, I want to practice my interviewing skills. I've got 5 basic questions. Would you be willing to interview me live in front of your audience and just kind of help me work through this process? Most people will help if you're just asking for help. Now, the cool thing is the live is a separate section. It's easy to find. It goes live. Facebook pushes out live content because it favors newsworthy things, which is original new content. Yeah. So it pushes it out better. You get a better reach. And if once you do that, it now lives on your friend's profile. So the friends that they have come in can still find it, because there are people like me and probably like you. When you find and connect with somebody new, you go binge watch some videos and you go read their posts and you look at all their pictures. And then if they're interesting, you might go back and check their stuff out later.
But I do have a members area, a members board where we put all these videos in. Yeah.
And now here's the cool thing. What you should be doing is taking snippets from each one of these videos, short little cut segments, and be putting them over on your public profile. And see, if you want to watch the whole thing, you can go find it over here.
Nice.
Yeah. Just a side note. So that's the power of being able to get in and use that leveraged aspect. And that's just one. That's an interview process. There's guesting on somebody else's show, like I'm doing right now.
Right.
There is co-training. You and I get together and we talk about, maybe you talk about the content creation and I talk about the psychology behind that content and how it connects with.
Yes.
That would be a co-training. Okay. Once you've done that, you go for an interview, to a co-training, to a, hey, I'm doing an event, Ritzel. Hey, would you be interested in sharing this event, or, my event with your audience? You're most likely going to say yes, because every time I showed up, I never asked for anything, and everybody's a win-win-win. Of course, you're going to support by letting people know, because they know you're the value bringer. But you see how each step you're building a better, deeper connection of trust with an influencer, which means you've got greater access to them, and they get to get greater access to your network as well. Everybody grows.
Yeah.
And there's only one rule of business. If you want to succeed in anything, it's not just win-win-win. Everybody has to win, but your goal should be, how do I make sure that everybody wins more than me? I want you to have a greater benefit than I do. If we make money, you got to make at least 60% of it. You will never leave anybody else receiving less than you, because then no one will ever have a problem when you say, hey, would you like to partner up on this? Would you like to become part of my summit? Would you like to promote this? They're like, absolutely. Why not? Because I always come out ahead. Right? So building those relationships is what allow you to leverage further. And then what I have found is you do that 2 or 3 times, and then all of a sudden people start reaching out to you, and you're like, hey, I've got a paid program. I've got a container of clients. I'd love it if you'd be willing to come in and train my clients inside my training. Do you know how powerful it is to be an invited trainer inside of somebody else's high ticket program? I have had people raise their hands in the middle of a paid container and go, how can I just work with you instead?
Right.
It happens because they're not getting specifically what they need to solve their problem through that container, but they see the solution being given through this other person. They're going to go to that person. And when that happens, I say, hey, you know what? This is what I suggest. Go back to that influencer, the person that they paid, and see if they can help. I'll try and offer some insight if that helps for them. But if they just can't help you with that solution, I'm sure they wouldn't mind. They'll give you my contact information.
Yes.
They will.
That's better. Yes, that's better.
Yeah, because
you won't look like a coach.
Hey, reach out afterwards. No, it's like, no, go back to them. Go back to them. And if they come into your container in your space and you serve them, then you look at them and you say, hey, I'd really appreciate it. Is if when you go back into the group, take the value with you and go share it with them. But I always direct them to go back to that influencer again.
Yeah.
And what that does is it always breeds a position in which you're never a taker, but you're only a giver. And when you're only a giver, I mean, who slams the door in front of somebody who shows up and says, here's supper? Well, these days they might, but, but people
wear a mask.
Yeah. People love the servant.
Yeah.
You're going to be the welcome one. The salesman, they get the door slammed in their face, but the servant is usually welcomed in.
Yep.
And that's where I think we can really push through on that leveraged area and increasing the reach. Again, getting in front of other people's audience is key. It could be anything from being on a podcast to being on their YouTube channel, to writing on a blog post, to going over and being asked to help out answer questions in their forums. Find out wherever somebody is that has an ideal audience for you, but non-competitive. Yeah. Never partner or try and get in front of an audience of a person who has a competitive offer. Only complimentary.
Only complimentary.
If you teach, if you say, I teach people how to strategize their content, and I come in and I go, I have a content mastery program that will teach you how to do it without her. It's not a good fit. There's going to be a problem.
No, I don't teach yet, so it's probably okay.
Right, but as an example. Now, a non-compete would be, you teach content strategy, and I say, well, you do the strategy behind content and how to schedule. I teach the psychology behind buyers.
Yeah, that would be
a wonderful complementary, because you'll be able to do the strategy and I'd help them understand the psychology, that would be a perfect match. So I'd come in, I'd do a presentation, we'd talk a little bit. Afterwards, I would come back to you and I would say, hey, would you be interested in doing a co-training in front of your audience? Normally, I have a masterclass on the psychology of sales. I have a masterclass that sells for $127, but I absolutely love your audience.
Mm-hmm.
Would you be interested in giving it to your audience? I'll come in, I'll do it for your audience, but let's give it to them at like $67 instead of 127. And would it be okay if I just gave you 100% of the sales? Okay, y'all look at her face when she just did that, right? It's a hypothetical situation and she's already drooling like, yes, right? But I want you all to see, did you see how effective that was, even in a hypothetical?
Yeah.
Like, who's not going to have somebody come in who's going to do $150 course for your audience at half price and you get to keep all the profits? I guarantee we do that once and she makes a little bit of money. $67, if only 10 people in her audience shows up, she made $670 to do nothing except tell her audience about it.
Yeah.
So that's a super good win for her. Later on, if I say, hey, would you be interested in coming and speaking on my summit? You know, taking advantage of some of that borrowed ethos we talked about earlier. You'd be like, yeah, please. And then I say, would you like to make an offer? I'd love it if you just made an offer at the end of your presentation. Would that be okay with you? Heck yeah, she's going to say yes. And then I say, we have a VIP session as well. It's $97 for the VIP. Would it be okay if I gave you 100% of all the sales that you brought in? So now, before she even makes the offer, she's on the front end. She's going to make profit from all the VIP sales, and I'm going to collect nothing. Because the reality is this. I don't make any money off a $97 VIP option. I make my money on my high ticket programs. Because what's a $97 sale when you're comparing it to if I make one sale, I pull in $25K or $30K or $50K. Do you really think I care about the $97 VIP? No. Mm-hmm. And that's if I pull one out of 100 on a $20K sale. That means I just made $10,000 because she put 100 VIPs in the room. And the great thing is she made that money just as much as I did.
Yeah. Out of 100, you will have probably 2 to 3 sales there. Wow, right? Of the high ticket. Oh, not really. More? Really?
Yeah. Industry standard in the presentation styles that we do is you'll close about 55% to an application, and about 50 to 60% of those will be close to a high ticket sale. Wow. So we run right around 20 to 25% close rate.
Wow.
Yeah. But we teach how to do those in our high ticket programs.
Right. So going back to your topics, right? We touch base with building authority. We touch base with increasing reach, and we touch base with building trust, right?
Yep.
So those are easier than done, but we have to do the work, right?
Yep.
So we know all those things now, right? We have it in higher level. So what's next? What do we do now?
What do we do now? Okay, well, first you all need to buy Ritzel's book. I don't believe she's written it yet, but it's on pre-buy. Okay, there's really a couple of ways that you can go about doing it. If you're interested in learning just a little bit more on a surface level, but deeper than what you're finding online right now, we do regular blogs. We do regular videos that come out on our YouTube channel, and you can try and go to each one, or you could just hop on my waiting list. And my wait list, I call it a wait list, not because you're put on hold. I call it my wait list because every day you get to wait for that next email that's going to get you that next level of understanding in business. If you do it on your own, you can do it at your own pace. But if you have someone giving you the information, you've got to wait for it to come. So what I encourage people to do is hop on the wait list, and then twice a week, you get an email broadcast that curates our content from various different sources. And then it just drops it in your email. And that which fits where you're at in your business, I encourage you to find a way to immediately implement what we just taught. And some will be processes. Some will be just the psychology behind something. Some will just help you gain a better understanding of how to go about doing what you want to do and break through a barrier or a goal. But everything that we post, if you apply it, will benefit you in your life and in your business. And that's all that we really ask you to do. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. You can go find it if you want, or you can just simply sign up and we'll deliver it to you. It's up to you. And if that's something that you want, I can definitely give that link over to Ritzel. And if she'd like to share that with you, she can do that. But I would encourage you to do that. We don't sell in that newsletter. It's just, we don't do that. I stopped selling about 10 years ago. We do make an offer every once in a while just to let you know that there's opportunities for you to grow and advance. But most importantly, what I want you to do, the what next. This is your homework. And I want you guys to go chat underneath here afterwards. But today, I want you to go set up one interview with somebody on your list. Say, I need to practice this. I want to get in front of somebody and have somebody interview you. And
that's a challenge.
No, that's homework. The challenge says, I bet you can't. This says, I know you better. Okay? Because Ritzel and I are going to hold you accountable to that.
Right.
Because it's important that you guys take action on what you do. And it all starts with the decision. Am I going to use leverage to make my business grow? If I'm not going to use leverage to make my business grow, when am I going to go start at McDonald's?
Yes.
Because if you're not using leverage, you're going to be crushed over this next year by those who've learned how. Because you'll see me everywhere. Everywhere that I deem important. Hint, hint.
Wow.
And and a good way to get people to interview you is to reach out and ask them to interview, or ask to interview them. Now, Ritzel asked to have this meeting so I could come in and share with you. She's going to come in and share with my community. So it's
I say like that.
Wait a minute. He is really throwing me under the bus today. But these are opportunities. Is when you give to somebody else, it gives them an opportunity to be reciprocal in nature. And when someone gives to you, be reciprocal in nature.
Yes.
Because you want to keep that cycle of exchange constantly in movement. If the exchange isn't happening continuously, it grows stagnant and value drops. That's why banks got really frustrated, because when the money stopped exchanging, the value of everything they had went down. We went down 20% in 1 week on our stock market here in the US. Why? Because the money stopped flowing. So the value of the money dropped.
It's time to buy.
Yeah.
Buy,
so
buy,
what you
buy.
want to do is keep your money in motion, but most importantly, keep that currency of respect and honor in motion. And value exchange. As long as that value exchange is happening, it will always increase. It's a law of the universe, the law of increase. Yes. Everything becomes greater. If you break a rock, you now have two. Right? It may become a different shape or size, but it will be multiplied in all that you do. So keep the exchange happening. I challenge you to do it by tonight, have it scheduled. But my expectation would be that everybody has one scheduled within a week. And I would love it. I don't know if this is okay or not, but I would love it if you guys posted your link to your interview in the comment section underneath here.
Wow.
Because then we can all go and support that, like it, engage with it, and we can all support each other as a community and tell Facebook we are important and a force to be reckoned with in the world. Because there is beauty and there is greatness within each one of you. Isn't it on time? It's time you unleashed it so that the world knows how amazing you are.
Right. You're putting me on the spot. All right. right. I sure learned a lot today, Sir Chad. Let's utilize the power of leverage in our business. So, for those who came in late, please watch the replay. Sir Chad had shared with us three important things or three important topics, plus some more, right? Especially the 15 minutes interview that we must practice in our business as online entrepreneurs. Let's use the social media to our advantage. Okay? Let's not be the other way around.
Right.
So yeah. So this is very insightful episode even for me. I've learned a lot. Again, it is his goal to give back to the world the opportunity and blessings that we have received over the years. Okay. All right, Sir Chat. Do you have anything else going on right now aside from, could you tell us more about it?
Yes. I've got something really awesome that's going to be rolled out very shortly.
Okay.
And
Tell
we
me,
are going to
tell me.
put some brilliant minds in a room.
Oh,
And our whole
mastermind.
sole goal, yes. And our whole sole goal for the Mastermind Community Elite is going to do nothing more than to solve everybody else's problems in the room.
Wow.
And
Nice.
those, I'll just put it this way, those who are on the wait list are going to get access to something that no one else is going to have access to after the first month of release.
Yeah.
So after we release, 1 month after that, the price is going full and the access is going to be limited. When I release, people have 30 days to get off their butts and decide that their business success is worth investing their time in.
Yeah.
Say that again. Will be worth investing their time in. So those that are listening are paying attention. Those that aren't are going to miss an amazing amount of value that will save them thousands and thousands of dollars over the next year. So I'd say if they're really interested, jump on that list because that's where I'm going to put out some notifications about the release.
Mm-hmm.
As far as my events, Money Maximizer Live, they go to my profile. They'll see how to get in on the next one coming up.
Oh, okay.
And if you really want to figure out how to find it, moneymaximizerlive.com.
All right.
But yeah, otherwise I would just say, if you've got a problem in your business, reach out to those who are going in the direction that you want to be, grab their coattails and hang on for the ride.
Nice. Nicely said. All right. So I'm going to ask you, do you have any other personal message that you want to share with our audience?
Just what I said. I firmly believe that there's greatness in each and every one of us. Mm-hmm. And it is our responsibility, our obligation to release that into the world. If you don't believe that about yourself, talk to Ritzel, get on a 3-way with the two of us, hook me up, you get on a call with me on Zoom. I will sit down. I will help you find your greatness because it's our duty and our obligation to share that with the world. The world is incomplete without you. I'm going to say that again. The world is incomplete and at a loss without you. So don't hide in the shadows. Be bold, be strong, and be brave because courage will always bring greatness back to you.
Wow. I see that. I can't say anything else. Again, thank you very much, Sir Chad, for being so generous in sharing your time and expertise with us.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Sir Chad Nedland, an author, a business coach, and a business strategist. Stay tuned next week. Stay tuned next week for another episode of Talking Business with Ritz, where we share value bombs to help you get a small win or move your needle for your business, even just a little bit. We will be interviewing experts to share their expertise with us, like what we did today. We'll be giving tips and tricks about, content creation and social media management, because that's what I do. We'll be sharing some technical stuff or trying out some tools that can be done by non-techie. We will be sharing insights on being a frugal mom without the scarcity mindset, for which I am also teaching myself, and many, many more. All right. Thank you very much for watching. See you next week for another episode of Talking Business with Ritz. Stay safe, and healthy. This is Ritzel, Loretta Rectra, and Sir Chad Nedland. See you next time.
Bye now.